Hello, and welcome to Indies on Indie. I'm your host, Patrick Poe. You're the listener, and Korso is the guest today. Glad we got all that figured out right off the bat. Now we all know our roles here. Okay, let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, the waiting game. I feel like that's a big part of this industry. You work really hard on something like an audition or a film, and then it's out of your hands. All you can do is wait. Go to your next audition. Make your next film. I'm waiting right now. Waiting to hear from a couple film festivals. See if we at IX will be screening soon. That's something big that I'm waiting on. But you can't just sit and wait. You've got to keep working. Get more balls rolling. See if they come to fruition. And then, I guess wait some more. Well, enough about that. Our guest today, he's another good friend of mine. He's a local magician, comedian, producer, and so much more. I've been working with him for almost a year now, producing the live comedy show at the Westport Coffee Theater, Laugh KC. He's also the producer and host of the Westport Weekly Comedy Show. This is me and Korso. And your brother lives with you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know you had a brother, really.
I have two brothers and a sister.
Oh, really?
And a stepsister and a stepbrother. So there's 5 additionals.
Whoa. So there's you, 2 brothers, sister, and...
Stepsister.
Oh.
Guess there's...
You don't even know how many siblings you have?
No. You just... Okay, you added me in that. And I was like, wait, no, there's another one. But no, you added me in the count. Yeah. Because there's me, 2 brothers. The real sister, stepsister, stepbrother.
Whoa.
So...
Six altogether.
6 altogether, yeah.
Whoa.
I was like, there's 5 extra. How are you already at 5? We forgot the brother.
That's crazy. Where do you fit in that? Are you oldest, youngest, middle kid?
I am...
What turns you into a magician is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I am sort of middle. Because out of the 4 of us, there is... my older brother and my older sister, then there's me, and then there's my younger brother who lives with us.
Okay, cool.
And so that's sort of middle, you know?
Yeah.
If you
like, of the original 4.
Yeah.
And
if
then,
you add in the step siblings, they're both older than I am still, so then that puts me second to last.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, which side are they on? Mother or father's side, the step siblings?
Fathers.
Fathers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So he already had 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
When he married your mom then?
Yep.
Okay, cool. But your parents have been together your entire existence?
Yes.
Hood? Okay.
Yeah, my entire start to finish.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen your finish yet.
Yeah.
We haven't
Start
seen
to
your
present.
finish.
My
Yeah.
entire start to present. That sounds like a title of something we should make.
Start to present.
Yeah, it's just like the story of my life from start to present, you know?
It's a good biography title.
Yeah.
Like, if someone doesn't steal it, one of us should use it.
We better edit it out of this then. Make sure nobody...
We'll just, bleep that bit out even.
Just... They're like, this sounds like a great title. But we can't have anyone else hear about it.
Yeah. How much older are the step-siblings then? Are they... Did you live with them, or...
No. They've been old enough. They were on their own for... I mean, each of them lived with us for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But, 28 and, 30 range.
Right now?
Yeah, now they are.
Okay.
So,
and you're 24, like me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I turn 25 next month.
Oh, really?
24 days.
Okay. In March?
Mm-hmm.
March
24th.
Cool. It's your March.
Same day as Houdini.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I share a birthday with
That's
Houdini.
crazy.
Yeah, I didn't find that out until after I became a magician. I was just on Google, and I went to look something up, and it was like, "Happy birthday, Houdini." And I was like,
no way.
Yeah, because you know how every day Google's thing is something different, and it was just, "Happy birthday, Houdini." And I went, nuh-uh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I looked it up. Yeah, so he was born on March 24th, and he died on Halloween. So I do stuff on November 1st. just in case we're really alike, I gotta keep real low key on Halloween.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't go out on Halloween. You're like,
Yeah.
that could be the day I get punched in the gut and die.
It's like that's not gonna be my life. Yeah.
That's crazy. Whoa.
Yeah.
But you have you have 5 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
You're the almost youngest,
Mm-hmm.
besides your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Does he also do performance?
He does not. He actually, it's funny, he and I both make a living off of playing cards. But so I'm a magician and he's a casino dealer.
Oh.
So it's funny, like, we just have a bunch of decks of cards in the house and it's because we each need them, you know?
That's awesome.
So it's interesting that's what he ended up with. I was like, that's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. Is anybody else in your family a performer, or are you the only one?
I am the only entertainer in the family, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody else just does random things. Yeah, and just suddenly I was the one who ended up in, like, theater, you know?
Oh, did you start in theater before magic?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, as a complete accident, too. So I moved around a lot, and when we moved from one town to another, right as I was going into high school, you get to fill out these forms that are like, these are the things I would like to have as classes and pick your electives.
Yeah.
And mine got lost.
Oh, really?
And so they just kind of, oh, this kid needs electives. Well, he has to take history and science and math, the standards. Yeah. But let's put his other classes in. Let's drop him in band and in theater. And the person
Did you have any musical experience?
0. 0.
Do you have any musical experience now?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah. I
kept playing.
It was very interesting. Day 1 of both classes was unique because I'm sitting there. The way that band worked is we all went to the freshman campus because we were freshmen, but the sophomore, junior, and seniors all went to a different school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where was this?
Manhattan.
This wasn't Manhattan, Kansas?
They had the freshman center, and then the sophomore, junior, seniors went to a different school.
So weird.
And so the band happened up at the West Campus.
Okay.
And so we would all bus up there. That's where we'd have to go for first hour because that was band. And so, but day 1, they do at East Campus to just kind of check who you are, tell you about how it's going to go, what's your instrument. And so they're calling names and they're like, Aaron, what do you play? Flute. Becca, what do you play? Clarinet. Korso, what do you play?
Never played an instrument.
I was like, I don't. Yeah. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I didn't know that we're supposed to know instruments before we get to band class. I thought we'd
cover that day 1. Like,
I thought we'd cover that. And she was like, talk to me after class. And at the end of class, she was like, so you just kind of, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I just ended up here. So I just went where the paper told me. And she was like, cool. Do you want to learn? And I was like, sure, why not? And she's like, okay, well, we need baritones, euphoniums for marching. We have a small group of them and we need more. And I said, sure.
I don't even know what that is.
So
a baritone euphonium?
Yeah. So
I'm guessing it's trumpet, a horn, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a brass instrument. You know what a trumpet looks like.
Yeah.
And you know what a tuba looks like.
Yeah.
Imagine a middle ground. It's
okay.
Imagine in the middle. It's usually where like French horns are right in the same area.
Yeah. I know what a French horn is.
Yeah. So a euphonium is just kind of right there. Anyone who's super, super musically inclined would just be like, oh, God, this is the worst description of euphonium ever. How dare you not be able to pinpoint? And I was like, no, I think if I explained to a regular person, I'm like, so think of a trumpet because I held it very, you held it right in front of you, but think of a tuba in like, not necessarily size, but just it's bigger.
It's bigger. Got it.
And yeah, and it was loud, and got a bunch of the deeper notes. And so we always kind of worked alongside the low brass kind of trombones and tubas, and kind of around the same notes, and musically inclined. But you can do a lot with the euphonium. They're really cool. So
You still play the euphonium?
I do not still play. I could still play it, but I do not like own one, and I don't play it. So because it was just like a school rental, and I started out. Oh man, it was awful. I started never knowing how to play an instrument, never having been in marching band or symphonic band, and then by the time I graduated, I was a rank leader in the band and like led the brass section in
So
my
you got
area.
really into band.
Yeah, because the marching and the drill downs and the competitions, like we went to state competition and stuff like that. I mean, that was awesome, and I got really into that. And like the marching, oh, that was so me. So like first year, I couldn't play that instrument. They were teaching me and I was getting it, but also I couldn't read the music. And so, we've all got this music and I can't read it, and I'm having to write in the key signatures and the fingerings for the notes and stuff, cuz on the euphonium you've got 3 keys that you press down to make the notes, much like a trumpet. And I couldn't read notes, and especially I couldn't read them fast enough, but I could read the key presses, like 1 and 3, 1 and 2, and I just like, boom, I got that. And I knew what the notes meant, either, quarter notes, half notes, long, all that. So it was just literally looking at the bars. I couldn't tell, what fingering is that.
Yeah.
But if you just say 2 and 3 for a half measure, oh, I've got timing down. Oh, I've got the breath capacity. And you're telling me, oh, that's a high 2 and 3. I got you,
Yeah.
As opposed to the low, and so that's my first year. I mean, even by the time I ended, I still couldn't I could read a B flat scale right now, and that's about it. But if you told me what to play with the notes and things like that, I could do it. And so that's what I worked towards, was just memorizing our stuff and the keys that they were, but I couldn't like recreate it. And so first year there was so much fake playing. I would just press the keys down and like mimic like I was playing, but I did the marching properly, so like you couldn't tell. But like you would know when I chimed back in, because I'm like, oh, I know this part. Blah, 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 blah. Stop. Okay, I don't know this part. Just keep marching, and we're turning to the right. All right, now we're going to make that box. Oh, and here comes the ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you just, there's plenty of moments where I was just dropping in, doing what I could barely remember,
Yeah. But so you were thrown into band and theater freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Before then, you had no
nothing.
No aspects of performance, no magic. You're not like the.
Nope, I didn't start when I was a kid or anything like that. None of it.
That's crazy. That's not what I expected for like your.
Yeah, most people.
What were you doing then? What were you doing back before high school?
Oh God, I was a punk.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I just, like I said, I moved around a lot. Like we moved
Was that
to be closer to family.
Your parents?
Yeah. So we moved to be closer to family in Chicago, and then back to San Diego, and then Peru and LaSalle, which is just south of Chicago. And just like basically every year until high school, I started and ended somewhere else.
Really?
Like I didn't really have like, oh, these are my friends since grade school, like that.
Yeah.
So by the time
you got to live in San Diego, you got to live in Chicago.
Yeah, that's where I grew up. Yeah, I mean, okay, I grew up in San Diego for many years. The school changing and stuff was still a thing from like city to city, but I was still in San Diego. Yeah, it's like going from like Shawnee Mission over to like Overland Park to because we were in Escondido, Oceanside, La Mesa, Mira Mesa, all the places.
How'd you guys end up in Kansas?
We had, like I said, we moved around a lot to be like closer to family and stuff like that. And when one family member was sick, we moved out this way to be closer and like help and stuff like that. And then just kind of, that was about the time when it was like, look, I don't want to keep changing schools. I'm at the age that matters.
Yeah. Well, all your siblings were older than you too, so they'd all been doing that too through high school and.
Well, actually, the siblings that were older than me, they're so much older. My older brother and my younger brother are like 18 years apart.
No way.
Yeah, because he and I, my younger brother and I, were born in 92 and 95. My older siblings were born in 77 and 79.
Really?
So there's enough of a gap that like when the moving and stuff started, they were on their own.
They were already on their own.
Yeah, they were doing their own thing.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're good. Korso just knocked everything over. If you're curious.
Did, yeah.
That just blows my mind. So why did they have you guys way later? Like, was that a plan or
no?
Was that...
I don't think any of us were a plan. I don't think any of us were like, yeah, I'm just gonna plan a Korso. That little schmuck. Yeah. But no, yeah. There we go. But yeah, so we ended up out here in the Midwest, and finally, like, I was going to school in Junction City, and my dad got a new job, and it would move us to a town in between Junction City and Manhattan.
Yeah.
And we were given the option, okay, look, we can keep driving you back to Junction City if you want to stay here. That's fine. Or we'll give you the option, because the buses and the school lines and whatnot say you're supposed to go to Manhattan. Do you want to try Manhattan?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. Let's do that. And then leave me there. Like, leave me there.
But so you had a real city upbringing up until high school, and then you moved out to Kansas, middle of nowhere, Kansas.
So I was used to the ocean. I was used to beaches. I was used to hustle and bustle in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, subways. And then it was Subway, eat fresh. That's not what we're talking about, guy. We're talking about public transport.
Yeah, none of that here. None of that.
And they're like, you don't have a horse? No, I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it was just like, oh, man, this is crazy.
That's crazy. But so you weren't doing magic, though?
Magic didn't start until I graduated.
Graduated high school?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, so I've only been
but you're
in the
doing,
magic game for about 7 years.
You were doing theater in high school on accident. They forced you into that. Were you enjoying it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I came from just being like a punk kid to like, oh, theater. Oh, that's for them, you know.
What does that mean? Were you like skateboarding? What does a punk kid mean to you?
Oh, man.
Were you sitting at home smoking weed? Like what?
You know, I was never a drug kid, but like I definitely hung out in those rings of people. I mean, we were the I don't know, punk kid, I guess is maybe the wrong word.
Or just sitting at home watching anime.
Kid. No, we were like Junction City, I was, you know, hanging out with friends. We're shoplifting from, you know, Alco, which was still a thing at the time. We're, you know, going into Blockbuster and just being dicks. I don't know if I can say that.
You can say
dicks.
Yeah,
I can say dicks.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, cool. You know, and we're doing things like that. We're cutting through people's yard and being chased by dogs, and people like, get off my lawn, and we like jump their fences and be like, you old man, you know. No. Yeah, I mean we were just that age where you're like coming into like, oh, I like girls, this is weird, you know. So we're also douchey because of that.
But you had no like
fights
you weren't like a hobby type of kid. You weren't like playing sports. You weren't.
No, like my brother and I played a bunch of video games, and like the guys I would hang out with would just like go to the basketball court and shoot basketball or like whatever. But it was nothing.
Yeah,
it wasn't hobbies really. Yeah, I think shooting hoops and riding our bikes around and just being dicks to people was what we did.
Okay.
And then, you know, I moved to Manhattan, and it was just like, I don't know. It feels like, because I was used to like rougher people from Chicago or like gang violence in San Diego area.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's like, I end up in like Manhattan, and it's like, oh, hi, would you like a mocha frappuccino? Would you like to join our theater group? And I'm like, what is this? No, go away from me, you nerd. Like, and then I would become the biggest nerd ever.
Yeah, Yeah.
in my mind, and I would love every minute of it, you know? So it was very interesting. And I was oh my God, it was so uncomfortable that first day of theater. I'm like, all right, well, you know, if they try to make me kiss a man or something like that, I don't like, I was just like that, like intolerant and such
Wow.
a dick. Oh man, like I was the worst.
I was the,
I was like, I still am the worst, but like,
but
now
you're a better version of
yeah,
the worst.
I'm the
You're
yeah,
more
I'm,
tolerable.
I think we as a country have. Okay, no, let's not. Me as a person have raised the bar on the worst in my life. Yeah. So like the old worst was like, ugh, that was pretty bad. Now it's like, well, I'll take today's worst over past worst course.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up in that. I did.
Did you
high school-
plays?
Yeah, plays. You know, improv. I was on an improv troupe. We went to state and won. So
Nice.
a lot of that. I was the captain of the mime troupe. So the still life mimes, basically living statues. They were called mimes, and I didn't know any better. I was just like, yeah, we're the still life mimes. And then eventually I realized, as I got into the performing world,
You're not doing.
no,
You're not a mime.
That's not mimes. Those are still life statues. Stop it. You know?
Stop calling yourself a mime.
Yeah. And it's like, I wish I had known better.
Is that where you met Ziggy?
In school? Yes.
Yeah.
I did not meet Ziggy in Still Life Mime, actually.
Really?
Ziggy, it's funny.
In my brain, that's where it had to happen.
Yeah, well, see, Ziggy does actual mime. So, but yeah, I met Ziggy in band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ziggy was like first year flautist, or maybe she wasn't. She was up there. She might have been first year.
Because she's 2 years older than you, right?
1 grade above.
Okay.
But like age wise, yeah, like 2 years
Yeah.
older. Just because of I started in California, and I started young in school.
Yeah.
We had year-round school also, so screw you guys with your summer vacations. That's garbage.
Did you like year-round school over summer vacation? Really?
Oh my God. So, I mean, you know what year-round is, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months on, 1 month off.
Yeah.
It was so much, like, you were always in school. And like I got behind the summer vacation once I left, and was just like, all right, that's cool. 3 months of not, but like after 3 months of no school, and then just like suddenly
Going back to it so hard.
It's like,
oh,
no,
man.
leave me be. But it was like, no, you went to school for 3 months, and then they're like, all right, enjoy winter break, and enjoy spring break, and enjoy summer break. But they were all a month long, like August, September, October, have all of November off. December, January, February, have all of March off.
Yeah.
And then, it was just, this is nice. Because you got that month, you did stuff, you hung out with friends, and I think it didn't kill you in school.
To go back.
Yeah. It didn't kill you while you were in school, and it didn't kill you to go back.
Yeah.
Because there was a break. But like doing like 6 or whatever months of school before you get any type of break and stuff, and you're just like, oh God, I've got finals coming up and my life is riding on this. It's like, no, you just need a month break. Like
you just need a couple minutes.
Like
to just,
if college
realize
was like that, if you went to like 3 months of this, take a month off, 3 months, take a month off, 3 months, all right, that's your first year. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is cool.
I could do that.
Like, yeah. And I think people could like work jobs better, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's completely wrong, but whatever. Like, I enjoyed it.
It worked for you.
And when it was like, I enjoyed the 3 months altogether when I got to that point. But when I first was told, oh yeah, no, you go to school for 9 months. And I was like, you don't know how to school then. You know? Because like you always just like, oh yeah, that month is coming. Oh, that month off. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to hang out with friends. I'm going to go street lugeing. Yeah.
Street lugeing. What is that?
So street lugeing, it's like ice lugeing. So laying down on a skateboard.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Like, yeah, there you go.
But you guys had a name for that. You called it street lugeing.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. Like, it's like there are like people like they're going down the hill on these and it's like street lugeing.
But do they have like equipment for that, or is it just a skateboard?
Oh God, I feel like I sound like a crazy person. Let me
well, no, I understand the premise of lugeing.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't know if like you as a kid were actually street lugeing, or if you like it was you and your friends going down hills on skateboards.
Yeah, street luge. Street luge is an extreme gravity-powered activity that involves riding a street luge board down a paved
Well,
road
no, no,
or
no.
course. Yeah.
I understand
So
that.
yes,
I
yes.
was
No.
wondering if that's what you were doing or if you were riding down a hill on a skateboard.
We were, we had skateboards at first, so it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
we'd love to do that. It's like a skateboard, and so we did that at first, and then we started getting towards equipment, and like I moved before I ever got to the full equipment. But
Oh,
like
man.
we had like my board was really heavy duty off road board, so like the tires on it were like thick with some good tread on them. So that as we were going down the hill, even on dirt, like I was fine.
Yeah.
And they just, I mean, it was like little off-road mountain bike tires on this thing. But I mean, they were like, if you made a fist, those were the tires.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we like upgraded over time and whatnot.
So you were on your way to
Yeah.
actual street luging. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And we would like do that on the hill in our apartment complex, and then we would take the hill just outside of the complex down the main road. But we'd send friends down to like block off the traffic.
Make sure no car was gonna like just
Yeah.
take you out.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, you get some speed going. Like on a skateboard standing up, sure, I'm sure you get fast. You certainly get fast. But like street luging was the fastest we would go.
Yeah.
And we're laying down, and it felt like there was so little control. Once you got to a certain speed, it was like, oh god, now I got to put my feet down or like elbow pads or something, start slowing this freaking thing down.
Yeah.
And you know, don't do that. But yeah, like the wipeouts were always rough.
How do you stop?
You know, I didn't get good enough to know the professional answer to that.
The answer to that's fall.
Yeah.
Fall off.
Like, because you would stop, and you could stop, like, especially putting your feet down to slow it down and whatnot. But, like, if I was to, like, research luging today and be like, oh, yeah, that would have made a lot more sense. Apparently, there are brakes involved. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we just did it on skateboards and then modified the skateboards to be better at it, but we never got to, like, luging equipment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you stop by landing in a bush, you know? Like, because I was coming down and there's a sharp turn and I didn't
You
lean.
can't make that sharp turn.
I didn't
yeah.
lean enough to make it. Normally you could, but just something in me was like, oh man, this is really, oh, I spaced out in the time I should have been turning, you know? Now there's no hope.
Yeah.
And so like tried to make it, hit the curb, flew off of it into the bushes, and it's like, all right, yeah, that's gravity.
That's
at
one
work.
way to stop.
Yeah. An object in motion will end up in the bush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Physics 101.
Oh man. So you went to high school, you did all your performance, you did band, you had your Not Mime mime troupe. Was Ziggy doing real mime at the time or
No, she was primarily band, and she did a little bit of like stagecraft or a little bit of theater, but never like performing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she didn't
Interesting.
get into that until we like reconnected outside of high school. And,
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah.
So you finished high school. At that point, were you wanting to go into performance?
Yes, I was intending on it.
What kind?
Theater. I was gonna,
Oh, okay.
you know, and it's actually still something I'm working on now, though. It's just I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to college for theater, and I'm gonna get a theater degree because that is definitely the most viable option for $40,000 of debt. You know, and like so I was just like, yeah, theater degree. I've got all these scholarship opportunities for colleges, you know, and you know, ultimately, I went to a couple of colleges and I was just like, oh God, this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is, nope. And during that time,
What college did you go to? You went to K-State, KU?
poked into K-State, poked into KU. I looked at other places, but by that time I'd already decided, no.
But you were trying theater at both of them?
Yeah. And I was going to, go to like, somewhere in New York, or there was a college in Miami that I was looking at because I did, and I loved doing a lot of the technical theater. Being on stage was definitely like, I felt good about it, confident. I just hadn't quite figured out where I wanted to be on stage, but I was always designing sets helping with concept ideas for like what the costume should be. It's like I couldn't physically make them, but I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is what, like, to get the effect, this is what it needs to look like, and blah blah blah. Lighting design, sound design, like I was doing all of that for our theater and our productions. And I was like, yeah, I could certainly, like, yeah, I'd love to like work for Disney or something and be doing the crazy stuff on some of their projects.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I got into magic and I started being a
What
street
got you into
performer.
magic?
It's there's like the sugar coated story, and then there's the truth.
Let's go for the truth. Let's go for the truth.
I was told by a friend of mine. It's actually a really famous magician. He said, the truth is always stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell people, it's like, yeah, I got into magic out of high school. I learned a trick, really liked it, and just couldn't put it down, which is like the truth, but it's like missing segments of,
Yeah.
long story short, I ended up in a situation where we were essentially, my younger brother and I were essentially like abandoned at like my, with a family member, and, they had a roof to put over our head, but like didn't have any like excess funds to like take care of us or anything
Yeah.
like that. And so, my younger brother and I ended up in that situation, and I was like, oh, well, I need to make this work.
Yeah.
And my mother had taught me a card trick, and I knew that card trick, and I knew it like the back of my hand. And so I started playing around with it. I started figuring out different ways to do that same card trick, and figure out, oh, if I move this, I can actually do, because it was, a mathematical card trick,
Yeah.
and math was my thing. And I was like, well, actually, if you're able to find their card like that, why can't you find two cards? Why can't you move their card? Why can't you do this or do that? Because it was just math.
Yeah.
And so I started figuring that out, and I was like, all right. And I would go to like the playground where like other high school kids, because I was like fresh out of school. So I
Yeah.
was still, high school age, and other high school kids are like playing baseball, kickball, shooting hoops and whatnot. And I would just like join in. I would go to the mall, and I would, hang out at the mall, and you'd run into other kids your age that way. And I would essentially like use like my influence of like, oh yeah, this cool dude who, oh, he's always got a deck of cards on him. Oh yeah, oh, that magic trick, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And these people would start wanting to hang out with me, basically became friends.
Yeah.
But when you hang out with friends, when your friend forgets their wallet, you pay for their food. When you invite them over to hang
Yeah.
out at your house and your parents
They
cook,
usually
you
give
eat
you a
with the
meal.
family.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, that's what it was for.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, more friends, more connections, more people equals survival.
Yeah.
And so, I would be at the mall. I would walk the couple miles to the mall, or I'd get like a lift from my older brother when I could, over there. And yeah, it was just, I'm sitting in the mall dealing cards out on a table to nobody, just practicing the moves and stuff. And people would be like, oh man, are you doing magic? And, I was like, yeah, sit
Yeah,
down.
I am.
I don't know any I know one actual card trick at this point. So this is what would fuel all of my improv skills from theater that I learned come pouring into what I would do, and I would perform what
One
I
trick
now call,
over and over again.
well, not just that, but I would perform what I call bullshit magic. I would pretend that things were happening under my control when they weren't. I would take advantage of it. I would set a deck of cards down, and I'd tell the person, yeah, sure, go ahead, shuffle them. I say, pick a number between 1 and 10. And they say 4. I say, turn over the top card when you're done shuffling. And they turn it. I've got a 1 in 13 chance that it's a 4.
Yeah.
And I would get really lucky in my times of need,
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, because I would never stop until something happened the way I needed it to. So let's say I say turn over 4. I say turn over the top card because you said 4,
And then it's like a 7. You're like, oh, turn over that many cards.
exactly, turn over 7 cards. Or honestly, sometimes I would just. I would never stop talking until something I needed to happen would happen. Like, it would go something like, hey, turn over the top card because you said 4. It's a 7. And I say, deal down 7 cards. And they're like, they deal down 7 cards. and the 7th card is another 7. I go, weird. You've got 2 7s, right? But hang on, let me grab the other cards in between that you put face down, the ones you dealt, and I'd look at them and I go, look at this. You've got no 4s in here at all. Why? Because you're incapable of reaching for a 4. What if I reached over and I just cut the deck and I'd hit a 4 randomly, you know?
Yeah.
And I did, and they would be like, oh my God, he made it to where I couldn't touch 4s, but then he got one like he's the master wizard. And I was just like,
it just worked out eventually.
Yeah. And I was
eventually it would work out.
Yeah, and I would keep going until it worked out. And it was funny because nobody would call me on it. And if they did, it would backfire on them somehow. Like, luck was on my side.
Yeah.
Luck would be, they're like, you can't do that again. And I'd be like, you know what? Name 2 cards. And they're like, I don't know, 7 and 8. And I deal the top 2 cards. It was 7 and 8. And it was like, I couldn't make it up fast enough because it just kept happening. They're like, oh man, this guy, I thought he was messing around, but then he got me, you know? And it was like, and so I would refer to that in, you know, later years as just like, oh, bullshit magic.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, we got back to a situation where everything was good, you know, back to the family, back to whatnot. And so I thought to myself, though, now that I was back and I got back to like my friends and stuff, people I knew, and I was like, oh, guys, you've got to see like the type of stuff I was performing there that they just let slide, you know? And they were like, no, this is dumb. Don't ever perform this. And I go, no, exactly. I was like, I couldn't believe that it worked. And like right now, it's not working as well as it did then because I feel like I don't need it as much, you know?
Yeah.
And so I told myself though, wow, that was such a useful skill.
Yeah.
And I was faking it. If I ever end up in that situation again, I want to have that skill for real.
Yeah.
And so then I was YouTubing magic. I was buying things off the internet. I was finding books on magic at the library. And I was like, this is a skill.
And you're what, 18, 19 at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do this. And then boom, I, you know, am a magician.
You know, magic now. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it led me to like street performing. And as I realized street performing, I'm out there performing on the street, you know, during the bar crowd rush. And I'm, you know, making money in a hat because people are tipping my hat. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'd have to work like 8 hours at a restaurant to try and make what I got in this hat.
Yeah.
But now I'm out here doing magic tricks for like 4 hours from, you know, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m.
And I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, and I'm having a blast, and I'm getting better and better at these things. Like, not that you don't get better at being a server, because I was a server for, you know, years, and it was like, yeah, this is whatever.
Yeah.
But like, this is like, oh, as I get better, I make more money. And as I get better, I charge more money. And as I get better, I'm more in demand. Like,
yeah.
And that never happened to me when I was like a server. Or
well, no, it's not gonna.
You know,
you can be a server forever, and you just get the same.
Yeah, like you maybe make more tips than the new guys because you know how to do your job or know how to fix mistakes. But like, I never felt like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a house with this.
Yeah.
You know? And I never felt like, yeah, this company, they love me. They
actually care about me. Yeah.
You know, my company right now, they care a lot about me. Why?
Because it's you.
It's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
My company is me.
So you were doing magic at like 18, 19. When did you start like doing? Because you now perform for companies. You perform for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. When did that all start?
So I was doing magic. I was still working. I integrated magic into being a server. Like for IHOP and stuff like that. And then I would be street performing when I could. And I was like, man, it'd be so great if I could do this one day for real.
Yeah.
And over time, I ended up moving to Lawrence to go to KU. And I got a job at US Toy Magic Company.
Okay.
103rd and State Line. One of the like, best magic shops in the world is right here in Kansas City. And I was there. It was integrating me with a lot of.
So you lived in Lawrence and worked all the way over at US Toy?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I drove 45 minutes to an hour to work, and it's not even like I worked enough to like pay any bills.
Yeah, I couldn't even pay that gas
because I would only work 3-hour shifts. So I was driving an hour to work 3 hours to drive home, because I was the night shift. I was the like 5 to close, 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Or I was like 4 to 7.
Yeah.
And so I would go to school in the morning. I'd get off.
What was the benefit of going to US Toy?
I am who I am today because I worked there.
Yeah.
Some
Did
of the
you
world's
meet
top
magicians
magicians,
or?
they all shop there. They all come in, they hang out. It was like, it's like if you're a writer and there was a meeting where all the writers would just hang out and get coffee,
And you could
you
work as the
want to be
barista.
there.
Yeah.
You want to be there and meet these people because, like, my boss, Letha, was amazing. She loved me. And she'd be like, oh, you guys have to meet Korso. He's starting in Magic. Oh, this is Reggie. He does 40 shows a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should talk to him. And Reggie would be like, hey, man, here's some tips. And I would apply them. And then it's like, oh, these are the Wolves. They do corporate stuff all over the country. Hey, man, here's some tips. And I would apply them. And it was just this wealth of knowledge. And I had access because while I'm there working, if it's a slow day, I'm allowed to just like, I got to do my work, but I'm also allowed to like learn the magic tricks.
Do magic.
Because
Well, because if you can do a magic trick, you can sell a magic trick to a kid.
Exactly.
Like.
And so I got to learn so many magic tricks that I would have never had the money to afford.
Oh, cool.
And then I found like, oh, this trick, I need this one because it's so easy to perform right now, or I like these things about it. I need to have this trick. Let me have this. Let me save up, buy this trick.
Yeah.
And this will make me more money when I'm street performing. This will go into a show.
Yeah.
And so I did all that. So US Toy led me to getting a lot more confident and a lot more information. I had access to read. There's over 600 books they have there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's on every subject of magic. And I was able to grab a couple and read them while I'm at work. And I'd flip through and find exactly the trick I'm looking for. Or I'd flip through and read the essay, like how to get jobs at a restaurant as a entertainer.
Yeah.
And I would read those essays, and I would try to apply as much as I could. And one of the things I realized is I've never done a show. I need to do a show. I've always done street stuff, but I would repeat the same 3 or 4 tricks just to new groups.
Yeah.
Or I would bullshit magic, but that's not, you can't get away with that anymore. You've got to do everything by the book.
You've got to do real magic.
Real magic. Real, quote,
real
magic.
fake magic.
Yeah, real fake magic. And so I found the Eldridge Hotel, had a little room in their restaurant that would like have like private dinners or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could rent that room for $50. And I was like, I'm going to rent this room. It only seats 25 people. I rented the room. I sold tickets to a show. I said, I'm going to do an hour-long show. Mind you, I've never done longer than like 10 minutes.
10 minutes on the street.
And I'm like, oh man, I know all these different tricks, but are they going to make sense oh man. And so, but I said, I have to try and do an hour show. And so I booked myself as the act. I'm doing an hour show at the Eldridge. Come out, check it out. I sold tickets for like $5. I sold the place out. I was tactical about it. I gave away tickets to people who I thought might hire me.
Oh, okay.
Like restaurants, theaters. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a magician. Here's some tickets to my upcoming show.
Yeah.
And I went and I like designed some tickets on like Google Paint or whatever. And then I would I printed them off on heavy cardstock and made sure they were glossy so they like looked like tickets.
Yeah.
And we would tear off the bottom half where I put the dash marks. So it was like, yeah, let me get your ticket. Like I just said, yeah. No, this is just some kid who's like, hey, I'm gonna put this together.
Yeah.
And sold it out. I did my hour show. People were like, oh, that's fantastic. And people were like, oh, I didn't know you could do like shows. Yeah, we've got this thing to hire you for. And like it just started snowballing.
That's awesome.
And so I repeated the show like 3 or 4 more times. And long story short, I worked at a steakhouse as a server at the time. And I started getting like, oh, I can't work that Saturday because I have a show.
Yeah.
And it started with a lot of walk around magic and eventually started turning into shows. And then one day I got an altercation with my boss about, what was it? It was just something about like, hey, I'm going to need this day off. And they're like, well, too bad. So sad. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I'm not showing up.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. And they sent me home. That manager sent me home and was like, get out of here. Like, just leave then. Like, whatever. You've got a thing to go to tonight. Just get out of here. Because I'm like, hey, it's my time to go. And he's like, nope, we're holding you longer. Because I was like, but we discussed this. And he's like, get out of here. And, like, don't bother coming back. And so I left. And then like the GM called me like 2 days later and was like, yo, aren't you coming in? I was like, oh no, I was fired. And he's like, no, he can't do that. And I was like, well, you know what?
I think I'm cool with.
I'm cool with staying fired.
Yeah.
And I never picked up a 9-to-5 job again.
That's awesome.
I was like, you know what? No. And I mean, there was such a panic in me, but like a happy panic.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh man,
At that point, you've got to make it work.
I've got to make this work. I've got, my girlfriend, wasn't fiance yet, but that was coming. And I was just like, oh man, I have to make this work. And so then I'm up at 8 a.m. and I'm just on the computer like, how do you make this work? How do you do this? I'm practicing my skills. I'm emailing people. I did mail outs and flyers. I printed up a brochure, and I spent like $100 mailing out like 300 to 400 just things to people.
Yeah.
And I would get some callbacks. They're like, oh yeah, a magic show? That sounds awesome. Can you come to our church? Can you come to this birthday? Can you come? I got to be on the Not So Late show in Lawrence, their after hours TV show, because I sent one to Channel 6, and they were like, oh, I mean, we don't have any need for you on Channel 6, but the Late Show actually might.
Yeah.
And I got to do that. And so now here I am. I'm posting things on Facebook of me in a suit on a TV show, and people are like, oh snap, we need to book this guy.
Yeah.
So I faked it till I made it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then when did you start comedy?
Comedy started because I went with a friend to a gig that we had street performing in Omaha.
Okay.
Art Sarbin, and we were performing at this like festival, and he and I were just chilling, performing, and I was trying to better my street show, because my street show, I could do walk-by shows. There's different types of street shows, and there's sidewalk shows, walk-by shows kind of thing, trickle shows. Quick explanation: trickle show, you're just doing something that people are trickling by. Like an old school magician used to be on the street, and he'd have a bottle, like a Coke bottle, and a nickel, and he said, I'm going to put this nickel inside this, and then he would get it to go in. Yeah. And people were like, oh, that's amazing. And they would tip.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he would grab a bottle and he'd do it again. Same thing. Just like the whole vanishing of a handkerchief, where you take a little red silk and you're tucking it into your fist, and you open your hand and it's gone. And then you make a fist and you pull it back out. There was a guy who would do that exact thing, just repeating it again and again and again. Yeah. And all you did is you walk by, you threw a couple coins in, and that was it. And he would just spend all day doing that. Yeah. Sidewalk shows, where you're doing these small little shows. You got your maybe back to a wall, or your back to the street, and you stop, 5 to 10 people, or however many you can really manage. But, and you do this quick little, like, hey guys, let me show you 2 tricks. Thank you so much for this little show. And then there are like the street shows. Yeah. Where you've got a couple hundred people stopped, entertained, and you're,
I think it's bigger and bigger as the audience
bigger and bigger, because you're blowing them away for like 45 minutes. Yeah. You've stopped strangers for nearly an hour on the street, sometimes longer. And I was like, man, that's what I want to get to. Because my buddy, Sam, he does those shows. These massive, up on a freestanding ladder, balancing while juggling. Like, he does these shows, and there's hundreds of people, and his hats at the end are like, big acts like that, you can have these couple $100 hats where it's like, oh yeah, there's a paycheck in a show. Yeah. And like, that is what I want to get to. So anyway, we're at this event, and I'm trying to, basically, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and just build my shows that big. I'm going to try and integrate things. And he would watch my show and be like, no, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. You're doing too much, actually. Like, I would do like 12 tricks in a street show. And he's like, no, you're actually doing too much. Yeah. Because people come up, they walk by your street show. It's a different mentality. If they're at a stage show, they're sitting there, they're there. Yeah. But when you're trying to stop people, you're losing half the crowd, because you're doing so much magic that they're like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. You know what? I think I understand.
He's
going to wow me. Yeah. Yeah. Like, so I don't need to stick around. He's going to keep doing stuff. But, like, I can leave now. Yeah. And so he taught me about that, and he was like, yeah, one of the things you should do is you should learn how stand-up comedy works. Not to be a stand-up comic, but just to understand how talking to your audience without doing anything quite yet. Yeah. Before I get to this magic trick, how do I talk to an audience to help build them?
So that started as a skill you wanted to learn for magic.
Yes.
And now it's built
It's
a
definitely
little
built a
bit
little better
from
than that.
there.
But if you know any of my first comedy bits, they were all about being a magician.
Yeah.
The reason being is because I could use them instantly in my show.
Yeah.
So I can then do jokes about what it's like to have people ask you, "Are you the devil?
Yeah.
Did you make a deal with the
yeah.
devil?" And me to be like, "So somebody came up and said, I'll offer you all the power you could possibly imagine. I could make you president. I could make you a king. What would you like?" And I'm like, I want some girl to pick a card and then shuffle it in a pack.
And I
then I
can
want to
pick
find
that
it.
card. Yeah.
That's
I like
what my
that
soul
joke.
is worth.
Yeah. Yeah, I was joking with some friends actually about that bit the other day, and we were joking like you could add to that bit about like that's all my soul was worth. Like I tried to trade for more, and he was like, "No, all you get's the card thing."
Yeah,
Like
that was it.
like I wanted fame and fortune, but he said my soul wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's like I tried to get the levitation trick that Chris Angel does, but I guess I hadn't earned enough soul points yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly the type of thing that I was doing with my comedy at first, because I was only there to learn how to talk to the audience. And my shows got better because of it. My magic shows got better. I stopped performing a billion magic tricks.
Yeah.
And I was able to make the 5 I did in one show strong and memorable.
Yeah.
People could leave my earlier shows and be like, "Hey, he just did a bunch of cool things, like this thing with this cup and this thing with this pizza." It was just a good show. Go see it.
There were good things.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah, but that doesn't get you known. That doesn't get you. It's just like, well, if you book Korso, you won't be disappointed. Yeah, but it's not like, oh no, have you seen the guy who shoots the arrow at his assistant while she's blindfolded and juggling apples, and he takes one of them out? Like, if you describe that, people are like, I want to go see that archer
trick.
guy.
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing is like, yeah, if you don't have notable things, then what's there to say? So yeah, comedy for me was how to basically slow down, talk to my audience, still be entertaining. Like, I don't be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, this next part you're about to see, here's a 5-minute dissertation on it."
Yeah.
While I'm taking a breath, getting set up, let me talk to you. Have some fun.
Enjoy yourselves, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh," and it's like, "Yeah, here's a little bit about what we're about to do," because magicians, don't talk enough, And they're like, "Ha ha ha," and they're just with you the whole time.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah,
but so now you're doing a lot more stand-up comedy.
Yeah, now I'm doing actual stand-up that isn't just about being like, I do stand-up about all subjects, and I do it as a stand-up comedian, not like, I'm a magician who happens to know.
Who happens to do some jokes.
Yeah, I'll get booked as just stand-up,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on this year, is really pushing that, just like I pushed my magic, so.
Because you're extremely versatile. You do the magic, you do the stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You're also acting. You've done a couple films.
Yeah,
you're
acting, juggling. I'm working up.
Oh yeah,
physical skills. So we do juggling, fire eating.
You do fire eating. Yeah. You do a lot.
And working on. I've gotten recently. It's more of a. I guess it's not a huge public thing, but I'm getting back into the poetry slam scene. So competing in poetry competitions.
That's cool.
Stuff.
And that's more just for writing for yourself, or is that?
Yeah, it's something that there's a different energy in poetry and slam performances.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I've turned a lot of my comedy bits into poetry.
Interesting.
Because when you're joking about ha ha ha, it's so funny to get wasted and be like, man, this is what I wanted to do with my life. People can write jokes about that, but if you were to take the essence of what they're saying and ask them, "Yo, would you give a speech about being real about that?" And they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, I used to drink myself into blackout oblivion, and I, hated my life." You can write a poem about that. You can slam about that. And so a lot of it's like delivering the same speech, but learning how to do it for different groups. Comedy group wants to laugh about the fact when I'm like, "Oh yeah, being a magician, selling my soul, ha ha ha." But then I could write poetry about the idea that people will compare even just a monicum of skill to saying, "You didn't earn it, you must have traded something for it because you're a hack,"
Yeah.
And it's you could talk deep about that if you wanted to. And so it's teaching me again how to do that,
how to command an audience, really.
And it's what do you want them to feel?
Yeah.
Because with a joke, with the same concept, same storyline, I can make you laugh at it, or I can make you be like, oh man, that was cleverly thought out. Okay, I can't like make, not like I'm some master, but like if you're good at them or
Yeah.
great at these things,
Yeah.
that's what you can do. When you can finally do all of that, you can make an audience feel the things you want them to feel, and then it's like, all right, what do you want them to feel right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. And so then you've gosh, do you still do the Eldridge show?
You know, I haven't done that in a while. I still have a pretty good rapport with them. Basically, if I
Yeah.
called and said, yo, I want to do an Eldritch show, like, they would just let me. But, you know, with my Monday night show that I've been pushing a lot and working on, I put a lot of focus there. And then just this year, I mean, honestly, it's getting so booked up and busy already.
Yeah.
Like, I could probably not get another gig between June and about November.
And you're
and
good.
be okay.
That's awesome.
But obviously, I'm going to push to make it to where I'm more than okay. I'm going to push to be booked and booked and booked. So I've just been pouring a lot of attention into that. And I'm slowly, like, I think tomorrow is going to be the first official day I integrate into 365 year 2.
Oh, yeah?
I took a good month and a half, 2 months off. I've started picking it back up in February, but year 1, I was performing every day. Year 2 is meant to be all about training.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I noticed is, so I was out and I was performing and I was getting my face out there and I was making it work, and that helped a lot and it was very helpful. But then the more I was out there, the more I saw myself and went, you're not at the level I want to be at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Korso, you have to climb. You have to get better. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I'm going to do the next year. It's not about showing people my skills. It's about actually earning those skills now.
Yeah.
So that's what this rest of this year is all about, is I'm going to try, and my goal will be to train every day.
Yeah.
On one, if not all of my facets of writing, comedy, of magic, of physical juggling and acrobatic stuff. So that when it comes time to perform at places,
you're good.
I'm good. I'm better than good.
Yeah.
I'm the type of, oh my God, how did we book this guy for this price? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's like, yeah, well, next year it'll be different, you know?
Yeah. And you're also, you're producing your own show. You're producing the Westport Weekly comedy show. Is that about, I don't know, is that you producing a comedy show so that you have more time to practice your comedy? Where did that come from?
You know, Kansas City is a great hub for a lot of things, and comedy is one of them, and it's got a good growing scene here. And I come from, and I don't want to sound like cocky or douchey. I guess if I prelude something with that, though, it's ultimately going to sound like that. But like, I looked at it, and I came from the scene where I make my living doing magic and being a performer. And then I came into a different realm of performance, and it was like, oh man, somebody's willing to pay me $10 to do this? You bet I'll do it. And I was like, I can't do that a lot. I have to eat. Like other people are like, no, I make my money from, you know, working at AT&T, and then I do comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping one day for that to take off and make money doing that. But I'm at that point where it's like, I have to be able to do this new skill without worrying about the money, but I also like can't let this new skill take over and take away from what my other job is.
Yeah.
And so when I came in and I saw this scene that was just kind of dilapidated and just kind of all over the place, I did the Eldridge show, some comedy shows, and I would bring people out, and, you know, I was paying them because I got the Eldridge, they would pay me to put on the show, and then I would take that money and divvy it up between all the comics. And they were like, whoa, $40 in valet parking for a show? Like, that's crazy. And I'm like,
no, that's how it should be.
That's how it should be. Like, granted, we're all local guys, and this is just a showcase.
And we're all working up.
We're working up. So I get that, like, what I just paid you right now is where I feel it should be. But, like, if you guys were hired by a company, you should be paying bills with that. Yeah. You should be like, oh, man, this is my month of food because I did this one corporate gig, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I feel things should be. And so I was like, man, I like all the things I'm going to and the open mics and the shows I've been able to, but there's just some level of professionalism that I want to see happen in a show. Yeah. And rather than trying to come in on someone else's show and tell them, yo, you should do this or do that, I was just like,
I'll make my show.
I'll make mine.
Yeah.
And so I did, and people are stoked about it.
It's a good show.
Sponsorships involved. We've got, we'll have a bartender in there soon. We'll have, drink specials. We'll have advertisement in the pitch starting this month.
It's awesome.
They just emailed me today about that to double check. And I mean, we're so close to having 20 people shy of a full house regularly.
Yeah.
And with the right amount of work and just let it be consistent, we'll have it. And I mean, I look forward to having a full house, local comics getting a chance to be in front of these live, awesome audiences that are like, you know, they're electric, you know?
Yeah.
They're there to see a good show on a Monday night. I've had people already comment, you know, hey, we want to, you know, we're at the Blue Room Comedy, or we're here in Wichita and we're traveling through. Do you have a show we could get on? I was like, yeah. You know, I just don't have money to pay them to solidify that being a thing.
Yeah.
But like, if I had a little bit of, because we have full houses, I'd have more money. I've had some more sponsors, which we're working on.
Yeah.
Be able to be like, yeah, so not only are we having great local comedy, but the show is ending that night with so-and-so from The Last Comic Standing in, you know, LA.
You'd be able to pull even more
and the
and
audience
make it even
would be
better.
like, you know, out the door kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a good mic.
Yeah.
It's a great show. It's a good place for people to get in front of an audience. You're 100% right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm working on, giving them a good place to do that and showing what I think the scene can be.
Yeah.
Because if, you know, sure, you've got to have those underbelly, like it's a bar and half the people aren't listening. You have to have those, because if you can't work a room like that and be used to like suddenly a crowd just not liking you, like,
yeah,
well, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. But when the scene is all about like, oh man, I want to make it.
Also, like in a scene where like the only way you can practice is to get on stage.
Yeah.
It's really like you can sit at home and you can write and you can do all that pre-work, and you should and you have to, but you have to get on stage.
Yeah.
And it's not always gonna be great. You can't expect to do a booked show that's gonna pay you and be like, oh, I'm gonna try out this new stuff. You've got to go try that at an open mic, because you can't just, you've got to practice your tricks.
Yeah. And I went to so many open mics though, and there was no audience, and I was like, this is a place that you could totally have something if you put a little elbow work into it. But these guys, it's just so, some of them,
a lot of people have given up on the idea of having a good open mic. They're like, oh, this is just how it is. It's just,
and it's not treated like a business.
No.
And I'm like, no, this is a business. Like, that's, for me, it's a business. You've got to go in and treat it like that. You're trying to sell something, and the product is the comics, and the consumer is the audience. And if you're just selling the product to the comics, like, hey guys, I've got a new open mic. Comics can only bug their friends to come out for so long. Yeah. Before the friends are like, hey man, like, we'll come out to your shows, but like open mics, what? So you have to build an audience that's like, yeah, no, this is our place. Just like, you know, Trivia's got their dedicated people. Yeah. We've got ours.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we're doing there. And I want it to be in a scene where you have to get on stage and you have to practice. I want to give people the practice space for being in front of a corporate crowd. Yeah. Rather than the practice space of being in front of a bar that's like not listening. Yeah. Because you do that, and then you get up in front of the corporate crowd and they're a lot more attentive. But like, are you used to
them actually
listening, people like interacting? Like, are you used to having to give a shit? Because I've seen some places where they know it's a blah 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 bar, and they're just like, well, you know, that guy's not even there. Half of you don't even care. What am I doing? I could be up here on stage and start masturbating. Nobody would even notice. Like, and you can't have that attitude if you're at a corporate level, even if they aren't listening. You know? Yeah, no. You've got to be, you know, and so people have treated my mic pretty well, and you know, because they're like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Yeah, they've been real good about it.
It's awesome. Well, hope you enjoyed this. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to talk about?
Check out the mic if you're ever in Kansas City. The comedy show we run is Westport Weekly Comedy Show every Monday, 8 to 9:30 at the Westport Coffee House Theater, also known as the Kick Comedy Theater.
Yeah. I like that it has that name, even though it's not what it's. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
they named it that, and like the theater is like, that's not what it's called. You guys just keep calling it the Kick, but that's not it.
All right, that was Korso. Go check him out and follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Korso365. Also, check out his comedy show at the Westport Coffee House Theater every Monday night. Sign-ups are at 7:30 for comedians. The show starts at 8 o'clock p.m. It's not a morning show. Come support local comedy. Talking about local comedy, go check out our sponsors, IX Productions, on YouTube. Their series Laugh KC features a new local comic every episode. Go watch the hilarious comedy specials from some of Casey's best, including Merritt Lemons, Brad Ellis, Bryce Stanley, and many more. They release every other week opposite this show, so if there is an Indies coming out, there isn't a Laugh KC. But if there isn't an Indies coming out, there is a Laugh KC. So next week, there is a Laugh KC episode coming out featuring the hilarious Nick Nichols. All right, well, that's the show. That's the ad. That's everything. Make sure you subscribe and tune in 2 weeks for another episode of Indies on Indie.